If we look at the EFF strategy of agreeing on certain issues to vote with the DA and to support it, but overall saying we're actually not going to form a coalition with you, what is your analysis of that move in terms of political strategy, and what does it speak to in terms of the 2019 national elections?
Well, the strategy that the EFF follows now, above pragmatic and ideological, right? It's very difficult for the EFF to go into a coalition with the ANC because they've said beforehand they're not going to do it. They're not happy with the way the ANC has governed on the local government level, and they want Jacob Zuma gone. So that's the ideological aspect. They also have the same certain ideological problems with the DA. So what this means is that they actually, like I say, holds the balance of power, because in the case of Johannesburg, they've already said that if Herman Mashaba becomes the mayor, they won't support the DA. So here they're saying, unless you change your mayoral candidate, we won't cooperate with you. That's a very powerful position to be in. So if we take then to 2019, and this is now assuming that the ANC support will drop below 50%, they can use that same type of strategy. But that then is one that you will see on a national level, right? So that we talk one government here that needs to be put together. And we know that how destructive the EFF has been on a national level, right? So, one needs to ask the question, if you go into a coalition to become the governing party, to what extent will the EFF then be constructive, form policies with another party and govern with another party? And I think, what we will learn from what's happening on the local government level for the next 3 years, we will be able to understand what it's going to look like on a national level.
So in some ways, it's almost a dress rehearsal that the political parties and their performance in these local government.
I think so. And I also think we need to ask questions about the smaller parties. Right now, we have many, many smaller parties that get less than 1% of the vote. They have like 1 or 2 members of parliament. Now, I think that, introducing a threshold, like, for example, 2%. There's no party that gets less than 2% of the vote can get any seats. Many other countries have thresholds of 5%. But that will then, of course, if you introduce a threshold, prevent the smaller parties to be there and actually become part of coalition governments. So I think that's the question that the government needs to ask itself. Will they consider a threshold to force those smaller parties to either merge with the bigger parties, or will they leave it as is and then hope that when you have coalition governments in the future, that these smaller parties will actually help to make up the vote to get a coalition up to 50%.
In terms of the strategy that voters have used, how does voting work? We know that voters put together their opinion on the ballot for a party, and then they put together their opinion for the wards. But what happens to those votes then? Can you kind of explain in layman's terms the process?
In a proportional representation list system, there are no wasted votes, because a party gets the percentage of the seats that it's earned at the polls. Like if you get 20% of the vote, you get 20% of the seats. Now in wards, it's different. There you have wasted votes, because all the votes that gone to the people, to the candidates who've lost, are wasted. So that's why there is sort of a recommendation of a mixed system, is that it gets you that sort of representation on the proportional list, but it also gives you candidates that can be held accountable, because this is the important thing, especially on local government election. Who do you hold accountable when services are not delivered, when things are not going the way they should be going? So that's the way it works. You get the rightful percentage of the proportion of the vote that you deserve, but where you have wards, then you have your candidate has to prove that he or she is the best candidate.